A midnight walk through Venice. Tonight, we are going to travel somewhere quiet. Somewhere old, beautiful, and softly lit. Somewhere made of water and stone. Somewhere shaped by narrow walkways, gentle echoes, sleeping windows, silent bridges, and the slow movement of dark canals beneath the night sky. Tonight we are going to Venice. But not the Venice of bright afternoons. Not the Venice of crowded squares, camera flashes, busy restaurants, and hurried footsteps. Not the Venice that appears on postcards under a clear blue sky, filled with voices and sunlight and movement. Tonight we are visiting a different Venice. A quieter Venice. A softer Venice. A Venice that belongs to the night. A Venice of warm lamps reflected in black water. A Venice of empty bridges and closed shutters. A Venice of stone steps that disappear into the canal. A Venice where the world seems to slow down, one breath at a time. Before we begin, take a moment to get comfortable. Let your body settle into the bed. Let your head rest fully on the pillow. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw loosen. Let your hands relax. There is nothing you need to hold onto right now. Nothing you need to solve. Nothing you need to finish. Nothing you need to remember. This is only a quiet journey. A slow journey. A soft journey through a sleeping city. And before we step into the story, you can leave a comment sharing where you are listening from, what time it is where you are, and what peaceful place you would like us to visit next. You can also subscribe if you would like more calm travel stories, quiet journeys, and peaceful places to fall asleep to. And now, slowly, gently, let the day begin to drift away. Let it move farther from you. Like a boat moving down a dark canal. Farther, softer, quieter. Our journey begins just after midnight. You have arrived in Venice late in the evening, long after most of the visitors have gone back to their hotels, their cruise ships, their trains, and their bright rooms overlooking distant parts of the city. The noise of the day has faded. The restaurants have closed their doors. The last chairs have been stacked beside the tables. The last footsteps have softened into silence. Now the city is still awake in the faintest way, but only just. Its edges have softened. Its voice has quieted. Its famous beauty, hidden from the brightness of day, feels more private now. More secret. More dreamlike. More restful. You are standing at the edge of a quiet canal. The water is dark, though not completely black. It holds traces of deep blue. It holds a little silver where the sky touches its surface. It holds long, trembling lines of gold, where the lanterns glow beside the old buildings. A nearby lamp hangs from an iron bracket fixed to a stone wall. Its light is warm and gentle. Not bright. Not harsh. Just enough to show the curve of the walkway, the edge of the canal, the old wooden posts rising from the water, and the rounded stones beneath your feet. The reflection of the lamp trembles in the canal. It stretches. It narrows. It breaks into pieces. Then it gathers again. The buildings around you are old and close together. Their walls are softly worn by time, by weather, by mist, by salt, by seasons of winter fog and summer warmth. Some walls are pale cream. Some are faded rose. Some are ochre, rust, clay, and soft terracotta. But at this hour, under the dark blue sky, all the colors have become quieter. Muted. Gentle. Almost sleeping. The windows are dark. The shutters are closed. A few balconies lean slightly over the water, as if the houses are listening to the canal below. The air is cool but not cold. It carries the faint scent of stone, water, old wood, and the distant sea. It carries the memory of rain, though the rain has passed. It carries the softness that comes to a city after midnight, when even the walls seem to breathe more slowly. And already, almost without noticing, your breathing begins to slow. You take one easy breath in, and one easy breath out. The canal moves gently beside you. A small ripple touches the stone edge. A wooden post gives the faintest creak. Somewhere far away, too far to disturb the quiet, a bell sounds once. Then the sound fades over the rooftops. You begin to walk. Your footsteps land softly on the stone path beside the canal. The sound is gentle. A small echo follows each step, then disappears into the night. Step. Pause. Water. Breath. Step. Pause. Water. Breath. Above you the sky is a rich dark blue, fading toward black in places. Only a few stars are visible. Venice holds its own light. It does not need very much from the sky. The city glows softly from within. From its lamps. From its windows. From its reflections. From the pale edges of old stone. From the faint shimmer of water carrying light from one quiet place to another. You follow the path as it bends along the canal. The walkway is narrow but safe. On one side the old walls rise beside you. On the other the dark water rests quietly below. There are no cars here. No engines passing along a street. No rushing traffic. Only the quiet sounds of a city built differently from most places. A city where water takes the place of roads. A city where bridges are crossroads. A city where the rhythm of walking is interrupted gently by steps, arches, landings, and canals. Ahead, a small stone bridge rises over the water. It is not a famous bridge. Not one that people gather around during the day. Not one from a postcard or a crowded guidebook. It is simpler than that. Quieter than that. Perhaps more beautiful for that reason. Its steps are worn smooth in the center from generations of passing feet. People have crossed here in the morning light with baskets and bread. They have crossed here in winter fog, wrapped in coats. They have crossed here at sunset, carrying flowers, letters, groceries, secrets, and ordinary thoughts from ordinary days. And now tonight you cross it too. You climb the first step. Then the next. Slowly. There is no need to rush. The stones feel steady beneath your feet. At the top of the bridge you pause. From here you can see the canal stretching in both directions. It slips between buildings like a secret passage. The water is narrow and dark. A gondola is tied to a weathered wooden post below. It moves only slightly, rocking with the smallest motion of the canal. Its shape is elegant and black. In the stillness of the night, it seems less like a boat and more like a shadow resting on the water. A few feet away, a second boat is covered with a dark cloth. The cloth rises and falls almost imperceptibly with the movement beneath it. On the far side of the canal, a small doorway opens directly onto stone steps descending into the water. The door is painted green. The paint is old, softened by age. The bottom step is wet and shining. A brass handle catches a faint trace of lamplight. You stand there for a while, simply looking. This is one of the gifts of the night. It asks nothing from you but a gentle noticing. Not effort. Not analysis. Not attention that strains or studies. Only a soft awareness. The curve of the bridge. The stillness of the boat. The glow of the lamp. The quiet depth of the water. The old buildings leaning toward each other across the canal. The air resting coolly against your face. You breathe in slowly. You breathe out slowly. Then you continue. On the other side of the bridge, the path narrows into one of Venice's winding little streets. The buildings stand close on either side. Their walls hold the coolness of the night. The stones beneath your feet are smooth and slightly uneven, in the way old streets are sometimes uneven, not uncomfortable, just full of time. Laundry lines stretch between windows high above, empty at this hour. An old iron lamp is fixed to a wall near a doorway. Its light spills down in a soft amber pool. A few potted plants rest beside another door, their leaves dark and still. A small metal nameplate glints faintly on a wall. The letters are too dim to read. It does not matter. Nothing needs to be read tonight. Nothing needs to be understood. You only need to move slowly. You pass one narrow alley. Then another. Some are so small they seem made only for a single person and a whisper. Others open suddenly onto tiny courtyards, each one quiet and enclosed, like a hidden room beneath the sky. You do not need a map. In fact, the lack of one feels right. Venice is a city best discovered by drifting, by following whatever small path seems inviting, by allowing yourself to become pleasantly, gently lost. Not lost in a frightening way. Not lost in a way that asks you to worry. Only lost in the soft way of dreams. When one image leads to another. When one street becomes another. When the world keeps unfolding, but you do not need to know where it ends. So you wander without hurry. One turn leads to another. One bridge gives way to another bridge. One quiet canal opens onto another. And each new corner offers something slightly different, though all of it belongs to the same peaceful spell. At one small square, you find a shuttered cafe. Its chairs are stacked neatly beside round tables. A chalkboard menu still stands by the wall. The words are faint in the dim light. Perhaps earlier in the evening there had been voices here. Soft laughter. The clink of glasses. The murmur of people sharing stories at the end of the day. Perhaps someone sat at a table near the edge of the square and watched the evening deepen. Perhaps a waiter stepped outside, folded a cloth, gathered a tray, and looked up at the sky for a moment before closing the door. But now all of that has folded into the walls. The square is empty. A single lamp above the entrance casts a warm circle of light across the stone. You cross the square slowly. Your footsteps are the only sound. At the far edge stands a little wellhead made of pale stone, worn smooth by centuries of hands. You rest your fingers on its cool surface for a moment. You imagine all the nights it has stood here through. All the weather. All the seasons. All the moonlit silences. All the dawns. All the soft rains. All the foggy mornings when the square slowly appeared out of mist. Venice does not rush. That may be part of its charm. It is a city that has learned to float. A city that seems to understand how to move with the world rather than against it. A city that rises and falls with water. That listens to tides. That accepts reflection. That turns even narrowness into beauty. And in this quiet hour, you begin to feel that same invitation. To move slowly. To breathe slowly. To let your thoughts drift as gently as the water beneath the bridges. You leave the square and continue down another lane. The sound of water follows you. Never loudly. Only enough to remind you it is always nearby. Sometimes the canal is hidden behind walls and turns. Sometimes it appears suddenly beside you again, reflecting a crooked row of warm lights. In one narrow passageway, you hear the faintest creak of a mooring rope. In another, the little lap of water against stone steps that descend directly into the canal. A window somewhere above is open just a little. A curtain stirs, then becomes still. The whole city seems to be sleeping, with one eye half open. Peaceful, aware, and completely untroubled. You come to another bridge, slightly wider than the last. Its stone railing is cool beneath your hand. From the top, you can see a canal lined with old facades, each building carrying the quiet marks of age. Arched windows, faded paint, weathered brick, green shutters, small balconies, iron railings, stone edges polished by rain, fog, salt, hands, and time. At the end of the canal, one brighter light reflects in a long golden path across the water. You watch it for a while. The reflection bends. It shimmers. It settles. Then bends again. There is something almost hypnotic about it. Something deeply calming. The mind likes patterns like these. Simple movement. Gentle repetition. Light on water. Breath in the chest. Step after step. Bridge after bridge. Canal after canal. You descend the bridge and continue walking until the lane widens and opens beside a larger canal. Here the air feels slightly cooler. A little breeze moves along the water, carrying a faint hint of salt from the lagoon beyond the heart of the city. Several gondolas are moored side by side. Their iron ornaments at the front catch tiny glimmers of light. Their covers are drawn over the seats. They rest quietly, like sleeping animals. A wooden dock rises and falls almost imperceptibly with the movement of the canal. You step onto it carefully and feel the soft give of the planks beneath your feet. The wood is dark with age. The ropes are thick and rough. A small metal ring is fixed into one post, holding a boat steady for the night. You sit for a while near the edge. The water below is close enough that you can see the little movements of the surface. Not waves. Not even ripples exactly. Just small changes. Small breaths of water. One line of reflected light trembles and breaks. Another forms beside it. Then both disappear into darkness. This is the kind of place where time becomes unimportant. Minutes no longer announce themselves. They simply pass. Quietly. Without edges. You listen. Somewhere far off, a bell sounds once. Then again. Slower. Its tone travels over the rooftops and water. Then fades. You are not sure what hour it marks. That does not matter. Night has its own time. A slower time. A softer time. A time measured not by clocks, but by breath. By the movement of water. By the fading of one sound into another. By the way the body gradually remembers how to rest. You remain there on the dock for a little longer. The city around you feels held in a great, gentle pause. A pause that began after the last doors closed. A pause that will end only when the first morning sounds return. But morning is far away. And for now, there is only this calm midnight hour. You stand and resume your walk. You follow the larger canal until a narrow side passage leads you inward again, away from the open water and back into the intimate maze of the city. The stones beneath your feet are smooth from long use. The walls close in. The lane bends left. Then right. A tiny shrine is set into one wall, lit by a small lamp. Its glass is slightly fogged. A few fresh flowers rest beneath it, though their colors are hard to make out in the dim light. Someone passed here earlier and stopped long enough to leave them. A small act of care. A quiet gesture. Now the flowers sleep beneath the lamp. You continue on. Soon you arrive at another little campo, one of the small open squares tucked between the buildings. This one is framed by low houses and a modest church, whose pale facade glows softly in the lantern light. Its doors are closed. Its bell tower rises into the dark sky. A tree stands near the center of the square. Its leaves barely move. Beneath it, a bench waits in silence. You sit there and rest. Across the square, the church windows are black. No voices come from inside. No footsteps cross the stones. Everything is still. If you listen closely, you can hear the tiniest rustle of leaves. Beyond that, the soft hush of water somewhere just out of sight. This square feels like a pause within a pause, as if the city itself has slowed its breathing here. And so you do the same. A slow breath in. A slow breath out. Again. In. And out. As you sit, you begin to notice how beautifully simple the night has become. No demands. No screens. No schedules. No sudden noise. Only the old city around you. Only stone. Only water. Only air. Only light. Only the quiet companionship of a place that has been standing for centuries. You imagine Venice not as a destination, but as a kind of lullaby. A lullaby made of footsteps and bridges, of water and lamps, of doors and windows, of courtyards and squares, of narrow lanes that curve away into darkness. A lullaby that does not need words. Only repetition. Only rhythm. Only the soft return of one peaceful image after another. Eventually, you rise and move on. The lane behind the church leads down to a narrow canal, crossed by an especially graceful bridge. Its pale stone catches the light in a gentle glow. At the base of the bridge, a gondolier stands beside his boat. He is finishing for the night. There are no passengers now. Only the quiet end of his workday. He wears a dark jacket. His movements are practiced and calm. He secures a rope, checks the boat, sets something carefully beneath the seat. Then he stands for a moment and looks down the canal as if listening to it. He nods in your direction with the unhurried manner that seems to belong to Venice. Then he steps away, leaving the gondola to rest against the post. You watch for a moment, then continue across the bridge. As you do, you imagine what it might be like to glide through the canals at this hour. Not walking, floating, not choosing each turn, being carried. And as if the city hears your thought, your path soon leads you to a small stone landing where a gondola waits in your imagination, dark and still on the water. There is no one else around. Only the canal. Only the lanterns. Only the quiet permission of the night. You step carefully into the gondola. The boat shifts gently beneath you, then steadies. You sit low in the curved seat. The wood is smooth. The cushions are dark and soft. The water beside the boat ripples once, then smooths out again. With a quiet push away from the landing, the gondola begins to drift. There is no hurry. No destination you need to reach. No schedule. No map. No reason to count the bridges. The boat moves slowly through the narrow canal, passing under small arches and beside silent doorways that open directly onto the water. From this lower perspective, Venice feels different. More intimate. More secret. The buildings rise beside you, their worn walls lit in fragments by lantern light. You pass old wooden doors painted deep green, then dark red, then blue softened almost to gray. Stone steps descend into the water, their bottom edges darkened by years of tides. Tiny arches bridge over side passages. Flower boxes rest on windowsills above, still and shadowed. The gondola glides onward. The water makes only the gentlest sound against its sides. A soft repeating hush. A quiet little rhythm. Sometimes the canal widens enough to catch a larger piece of sky. Sometimes it narrows so much that the walls on either side feel almost close enough to touch. You drift beneath a bridge so low that its underside seems to brush the night itself. Then out again into an open stretch where two lanterns cast twin ribbons of gold across the water. If the city by day is a place of seeing, the city by night is a place of feeling. You are no longer collecting sights. You are being carried by mood, by atmosphere, by sound, by stillness. The gondola turns a corner and enters a canal lined with especially old houses. Some lean very slightly toward the water. Some show places where plaster has fallen away to reveal older brick underneath. One has a tiny balcony with a curved railing of black iron. Another has narrow shutters half closed over tall windows. Each building feels full of stories. But tonight, none of those stories need to be told fully. It is enough to know they are there, resting quietly behind walls and windows. Just as your own memories can rest quietly without needing your attention. The gondola moves slowly. A soft hush on the left. A soft hush on the right. A bridge above. A reflection below. A doorway. A wall. A little lamp. A patch of sky. Everything arrives. Everything passes. Nothing asks to be held. As the gondola moves, you allow your own thoughts to soften in the same way. You do not need to follow every idea. You do not need to solve every memory. You do not need to plan tomorrow. You can simply let thoughts pass by like these old walls and bridges. Seen for a moment, then gone. The gondola emerges into a somewhat broader canal, where the reflections are wider and more fluid. Here the night seems deeper. The air cools a little more. Somewhere in the distance, from another unseen part of the city, comes the faint sound of water meeting wood. A simple sound. Almost nothing. And yet in the silence, it feels full and clear. You float beneath another bridge. Then another. The arches pass overhead slowly, one by one. Each bridge is like a small gate into a quieter dream. Under one bridge, the sound of the water becomes rounder and deeper. Then it opens again. Under another, the lantern light disappears for a breath. Then returns. Darkness. Light. Darkness. Light. In the soft rhythm of it, your body sinks more deeply into rest. Your shoulders are heavy now. Your hands are quiet. Your face is relaxed. Your breath moves in an easy rhythm. The gondola turns again, and now the canal is lined with sleeping windows. Some are tall and arched. Some are small and square. Some have shutters. Some have curtains. All of them are dark. Behind them, people are sleeping. Families. Travelers. Old residents who know the sound of the water in every season. People dreaming in rooms above the canals. And you, too, can drift closer to dreaming. The gondola continues. A small bridge appears ahead. At its center, a lantern glows above the arch. The light reflects beneath it, making the bridge seem doubled, one bridge of stone above, one bridge of gold below. The boat passes through the middle of them. For a moment, you are between reflection and reality. Between waking and sleep. Between the quiet city and the soft inner world of your own rest. The gondola glides on. Then slowly, almost without a sound, it approaches a small stone landing. You step out carefully. The boat steadies behind you. And you return to the quiet streets. Now the city feels even softer than before, as if the gondola ride has carried you deeper into its dream. You wander through another set of lanes, narrower than the last, where the walls on either side seem to hold the coolness of the night. One alley opens into a hidden courtyard, no bigger than a room. There is an old door painted blue. A climbing vine reaches across one wall. A single lantern glows above an archway. The courtyard feels so tucked away that it seems impossible the rest of the world still exists beyond it. You pause there listening. Nothing. Only the sweet, dense quiet of a place folded inward on itself. Then you move on. Another lane leads you past a row of sleeping houses, each with small stone steps at the entrance. On one windowsill sits a terracotta pot with a little rosemary plant. On another hangs a curtain with lace edges, visible even in the dark. A cat slips silently across the stones ahead of you. It pauses for a moment beneath a lamp. Its eyes catch the light. Then it disappears into shadow, as quietly as it came. Somewhere nearby, hidden behind walls, a clock marks the passing of another quarter hour with a soft chime. The sound is so gentle, it barely seems to touch the air. As you continue, Venice begins to feel less like a city and more like a floating memory. A place suspended between water and sky. Between history and dream. Every bridge you cross feels familiar, even when you have never seen it before. Every narrow lane seems to welcome slow footsteps. Every pool of lantern light invites you to pause. You pass beneath a covered passageway. For a moment, the night sky disappears. The stones around you hold the echo of your steps. The passageway smells faintly of old brick and damp air. At the far end, a rectangle of blue-black sky waits above another canal. You step out again, and the open air returns. A small boat is tied there, not a gondola this time, but a simple wooden boat with a pale cover. The cover is beaded with tiny drops of moisture. Mist is beginning to settle lightly over the city. Not thick mist. Not enough to hide the world. Only a soft veil over the far end of the canal. The lamps glow more gently through it. The reflections become wider and less distinct. The buildings seem to float. You continue walking. The mist makes everything feel even quieter. Edges blur. Sounds soften. The whole city becomes a little less solid, a little more dreamlike. You turn into another lane. Then another. There is no wrong path here. No path that needs correcting. Each one is part of the same slow wandering. Each one carries you deeper into calm. A small archway opens into a courtyard paved with pale stones. At its center stands a stone cistern. Around it, several doorways are closed for the night. A small balcony above holds 2 chairs and a little table. Someone has left a book on the table. Or perhaps it only looks like a book in the dimness. A square of shadow. A memory of someone reading there earlier in the day. You imagine morning sunlight in this courtyard. The sound of cups. The scent of coffee. A quiet conversation from an open window. But tonight all of that is sleeping. Tonight the courtyard belongs to the stillness. You cross it slowly. At the far side, a narrow opening leads you back toward the water. The canal here is so still, it looks like a polished dark mirror. The old building opposite is reflected almost perfectly. Window above window. Lamp beneath lamp. Stone above stone. Then a tiny ripple moves through the reflection, and the whole image loosens into gold and shadow. You stand there and watch. There is comfort in seeing something beautiful let go of its shape. The reflection breaks, then gathers. Breaks, then gathers. Nothing is lost. It simply changes form. Just as thoughts can break apart and soften. Just as the day can dissolve into night. Just as wakefulness can become sleep. You walk again. The path turns toward a slightly wider square. Here there is a fountain, not flowing strongly, just giving the faintest sound of water. A small, patient sound. A sound almost like breathing. The square is empty, except for 2 benches and a row of closed windows. A lantern hangs near the fountain, and its light touches the water basin, the stone rim, and the damp ground nearby. You sit on one of the benches. For a while, you listen to the fountain. A soft trickle. A pause. Another trickle. Water falling into water. Simple. Steady. Unconcerned. The sound blends with the distant lap of the canal. One water sound near. One water sound far. Your breathing rests between them. Near water. Far water. Breath in. Breath out. Near water. Far water. Breath in. Breath out. There is something deeply kind about this hour. The night does not ask you to be anything. It does not ask you to perform. It does not ask you to explain. It only offers space. And in that space, the body remembers. It remembers how to soften, how to release, how to grow heavy, how to trust the bed beneath you, even as the mind walks gently through Venice. After some time, you rise again. The walk continues, but now it feels even slower. Your feet know the rhythm. The city knows the rhythm. The story knows the rhythm. Walk. Pause. Listen. Breathe. Walk. Pause. Listen. Breathe. You pass another shuttered shop. In the window, behind dark glass, are small objects arranged with care. Perhaps masks. Perhaps glass. Perhaps handmade paper. The details are dim. You do not need to see them clearly. It is enough to sense the quiet care of the display. The way things wait. The way even closed windows hold a trace of human hands. Farther on, you pass a small bridge with flower pots along one side. The flowers are sleeping in the cool air. Their colors muted by darkness. A few petals have fallen onto the stone. The bridge crosses a canal so narrow that a person on one side could almost speak softly to someone on the other. But no one speaks now. The city has folded its conversations away. You cross. On the other side, you find a lane lined with tall walls and only a few doors. The night air here is still. Your footsteps sound softer than before. You can feel how the city contains silence differently in each place. In a square, silence opens. Along a canal, silence flows. Under an archway, silence gathers. In a narrow lane, silence walks beside you. Eventually, your wandering brings you toward a quieter edge of the city, where the lanes open a little and the air carries more of the lagoon. You can sense the wider water nearby before you see it. The breeze is freer here. The smell is cleaner, saltier, touched by distance. The walls no longer stand quite as close. The sky appears in larger pieces above you. Then the buildings part, and before you lies the open darkness of the lagoon. It is not empty. It is full of softness. The horizon is barely visible, only a faint line between water and sky. A few distant lights shimmer across the surface, perhaps from far islands, perhaps from boats moving slowly through the night. Wooden posts rise from the water near the edge, their shapes reflected in long broken lines below. The wider space feels calming after the narrow passages. Like a long breath after a whisper. You walk along the edge at an unhurried pace. To one side, the old city stands quietly behind you. To the other, the lagoon stretches out into darkness and possibility. The sound here is different. Less echo. More hush. A wider, gentler movement of water. The occasional soft knock of a boat against wood. A little breeze passing over the surface. You find a stone ledge and sit again. This time, you sit facing the open water. The night seems to rest its cool hand over everything. You look out across the lagoon and feel your body growing heavier in the best possible way. Your legs relax. Your shoulders relax. Your face softens. Even your thoughts begin to seem farther away, as though they belong to some earlier part of the evening, before Venice gathered them up and carried them off. You stay there for a while, gazing at the faint lights across the water. One reflection trembles, then steadies. Another drifts slowly sideways. Clouds move somewhere high above, though you notice them only by the way the darkness subtly changes. The city behind you remains silent. And now the silence does not feel empty at all. It feels full. Full of age. Full of beauty. Full of calm. You have done nothing tonight except walk, look, listen, and breathe. And yet that has been enough. More than enough. Sometimes peace comes not from adding anything, but from allowing everything unnecessary to fall away. One by one. The hurry. The noise. The unfinished thoughts. The tension held in the shoulders. The questions waiting for tomorrow. All of it can loosen. All of it can drift. Like mist over the lagoon. Like gold on the water. Like a boat moving slowly away into the dark. You sit by the lagoon and let yourself become very still. The stones beneath you are steady. The air around you is cool. The water in front of you moves gently. The distant lights shimmer. There is nothing else required. Nothing to improve. Nothing to complete. Only this quiet view. Only this soft breath. Only this old city resting beside the water. After some time, you rise once more and turn back toward the city. But your return is even slower than your wandering. You are no longer exploring. You are simply drifting. The streets that earlier felt mysterious now feel familiar and protective. The bridges feel like gentle steps in a lullaby. The canals no longer ask to be noticed in detail. They simply accompany you. The lamps continue to burn softly. The windows remain dark. The gondolas sleep against their posts. And Venice, little by little, seems to dissolve into pure atmosphere. You pass again through a small square, though perhaps not the same one. At this hour they all feel connected, like rooms in a single great house made of stone and memory. A fountain murmurs faintly somewhere behind a wall. A shutter clicks softly in the breeze. Far away, a bell sounds once more. You cross another bridge. Then another. The rhythm begins to repeat in a way that is soothing. Walk. Pause. Cross. Look. Breathe. Walk. Pause. Cross. Look. Breathe. And with each repetition, the mind settles a little deeper. The body grows a little heavier. The night grows a little softer. You come upon a canal where the water is especially still. The buildings on either side are reflected so clearly that the canal seems to hold another Venice upside down beneath the real one. A second city. A quiet city below the water. A city of wavering lamps and silent windows. A city that exists only as long as the water remains calm. You look down into it, and it feels like looking into sleep itself. A place similar to waking life, but softer. Looser. Less demanding. More fluid. A place where shapes can change without fear. A place where thought can become image. Image can become feeling. Feeling can become rest. A small ripple passes through the reflected city. The windows stretch. The lamps bend. The buildings become ribbons of dark and gold. Then slowly, the reflection gathers again. You breathe. The canal breathes. The night breathes. Everything is moving, but barely. Everything is changing, but gently. You continue on. A narrow lane takes you past a small garden hidden behind an iron gate. In the dark, you can make out the shapes of leaves, a stone path, perhaps a bench beneath a tree. The gate is closed, but the garden does not feel closed away. It simply rests behind the ironwork. A private calm. A small green pocket in the sleeping city. A few leaves move in the breeze. The scent of damp earth reaches you for a moment, mixing with stone and water. Then the lane turns, and the garden disappears behind you. You find yourself back near a small bridge. This bridge is lower, humbler, with no decoration except the curve of its arch. At the top, you stop and look down. A covered boat rests in the canal below. Its rope is tied to a post. The rope moves lightly with the water. Back and forth. Back and forth. Not enough to loosen. Only enough to show the movement of the canal. You watch the rope for a while. There is rest in small repeated things. A rope moving. A lamp trembling. Water touching stone. A breath going in. A breath going out. You do not have to force sleep. You do not have to chase it. You only make space for it. And slowly, naturally, it comes closer. Like a boat in the dark. Like a soft tide. Like mist gathering over water. You descend the bridge. The street ahead is very quiet. A sign hangs above an old doorway. The paint on it is faded. Nearby, a window box holds herbs. Rosemary, perhaps. Or basil. At this hour, the scent is faint, but comforting. You pass under another arch. Beyond it, the canal opens into a small basin where several boats are moored. Their shapes are dark and still. One boat rocks slightly more than the others, as if dreaming. The water reflects a few high windows. In one of them, a very faint light glows behind curtains. Someone awake in the city. Someone reading, perhaps. Someone returning from work. Someone unable to sleep, looking out over the water. You do not need to know. The light is simply there. A small human warmth in the sleeping city. You walk on. The night continues to deepen. There is no sharp change, only a gradual softening. The kind of change you notice only after it has already happened. The sky seems darker now. The lamps seem warmer. The streets seem emptier. Your thoughts seem slower. Your body seems heavier. And Venice seems to be guiding you, without words, toward rest. Soon, you come to a covered walkway beside the water. Stone columns stand between you and the canal. Beyond them, the water glimmers in narrow vertical pieces. Light, dark, light, dark. You walk slowly through the covered path. Your footsteps are hushed. The air is cooler under the arches. Each column passes beside you like a slow breath. One, then another, then another. At the end of the walkway, you stop. The canal opens before you again. A bridge crosses it farther ahead. A lamp glows on the bridge. The reflection below it trembles like a candle flame. You follow the canal toward that light. The closer you get, the softer everything feels. As if the story itself is lowering its voice. As if each word now wants to become quieter than the one before. You reach the bridge and cross it slowly. At the top, you look back. The path behind you curves away into shadow. The covered walkway is almost hidden now. The square beyond it is gone from view. All the places you have passed tonight are behind you, and yet they have not disappeared. They have become part of the calm. The first canal. The small bridge. The shuttered cafe. The church square. The gondola ride. The hidden courtyard. The mist. The lagoon. The reflection city beneath the water. Each one is still there, but softer now. Not separate scenes. Only one long peaceful dream. You descend the bridge. Soon, you find yourself back near a narrow canal lined with quiet houses. This place feels right. Not because it is grand or famous. Not because it is known. But because it is still. A small wooden bench rests against one wall beneath a lantern. The lantern glows warmly. The canal before you is dark and glassy. A single gondola shifts gently in the water. Reflections sway and settle. Nothing more is needed. You sit on the bench. The wood is cool beneath you. The wall behind you is steady. The lamp above you hums softly in the silence, or perhaps you only imagine the hum. Across the canal, a dark doorway stands above stone steps. A balcony leans over the water. A shutter is closed. A small piece of moonlight rests on the edge of a roof. Now the story slows even further. There is less walking, less seeing, more resting, more drifting. You sit on the bench and let the silence gather around you. You listen to the tiny sounds of the sleeping city. Water touching stone. A rope creaking lightly. A faint breeze along the canal. Perhaps a distant gull somewhere near the lagoon. All of it soft. All of it far away. You begin to imagine that the canal itself is breathing. A slow in and out. A rise and fall. The whole city breathing with it. The boats breathing. The bridges breathing. The old walls breathing. And you too, breathing slowly inside the calm of it all. If you like, you can let your own breathing match this gentle rhythm. A soft breath in. And a longer breath out. Again. A soft breath in. And a longer breath out. There is nowhere else to go now. The walk is ending. The night is deep. And Venice is wrapping itself around you like a quiet dream. The lantern light grows warmer. The shadows grow softer. The water grows darker and smoother. Even the air seems gentler now. You remain seated on the bench, and as you do, the details around you begin to blur in the most peaceful way. The edges of the buildings soften. The reflections stretch into ribbons. The bridge becomes a pale curve above the water. The gondola becomes a dark cradle rocking, almost imperceptibly. Everything is becoming simpler, quieter, farther away. You may begin to feel that delicious heaviness that comes just before sleep. The body sinking down. The thoughts thinning out. The outside world fading. If a thought comes, let it pass. If a memory comes, let it drift away. If a plan tries to return, thank it softly and let it go. Tonight there is nothing to hold. Nothing to carry. Nothing to finish. Only this bench. This canal. This warm lamp. This quiet city of water and stone. And little by little, even those things can begin to fade. Imagine now that Venice is growing softer with each breath. Softer bridges. Softer water. Softer light. Softer sky. Softer footsteps, though you are no longer walking. Softer gondolas rocking in their sleep. Softer old houses leaning over the canal. Softer bells far away. Softer air against your skin. And softer, too, the thoughts in your mind. Until they are no more than shadows moving across dark water. You are safe here. Safe in the stillness. Safe in the night. Safe in this slow and beautiful city. And now, you do not even need to imagine the whole city anymore. Only one small peaceful scene. A quiet canal. A warm lantern. A dark gondola rocking gently. And your breath moving slowly in and out. In and out. In and out. Everything else can fade. The bridges can fade. The square can fade. The lagoon can fade. The old church and sleeping windows can fade. The little alleys and stone steps can fade. The whole wandering journey can fade into softness. Only the calm remains. Only the rhythm remains. Only rest remains. And if you are still listening, you can let the last part of the story become very simple. Venice at night. Water and light. Stone and sky. Stillness and breath. Venice at night. Water and light. Stone and sky. Stillness and breath. A quiet canal. A warm glow. A sleeping gondola. A peaceful heart. A quiet canal. A warm glow. A sleeping gondola. A peaceful heart. Nothing to do. Nowhere to go. Nothing to hold. Nothing to know. Nothing to do. Nowhere to go. Nothing to hold. Nothing to know. Just rest. Just breathe. Just drift. Just sleep. Rest now. Breathe now. Drift now. Sleep now. The city is quiet. The water is still. The lantern is glowing. The night is kind. The city is quiet. The water is still. The lantern is glowing. The night is kind. And somewhere just beyond thought, Venice is still there. Floating softly in the dark. Waiting without asking. Shining without effort. Sleeping without fear. And you can do the same. You can float softly in the dark. You can let go without effort. You can rest without fear. The canal is quiet. The bridge is still. The gondola rocks gently. The night goes on. The canal is quiet. The bridge is still. The gondola rocks gently. The night goes on. And now, very gently, very softly, let yourself drift. Drift like the reflections on the water. Drift like the boat on the canal. Drift like the night air moving through the old Venetian streets. Drift and rest. Drift and rest. Drift and sleep. 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 Sleep.